Sally YouTube, how's it going? I hope that you guys are doing well. I'm currently sitting on the ground of one of our bedrooms in a very cold house, which is very New Zealand. Our houses are basically just wooden boxes and very few are properly insulated like you'll find in Europe and places like that. And I guess they just didn't realize how cold it could get here in winter. And it's so funny because often inside the house it's just as cold as it is outside. So yeah, anyway, fact of the day about New Zealand. Super great day today. So I'm sitting in here trying to get the best light as possible so I can film a video for you guys. Well, we have been in New Zealand for a year now, like back home for me for a year. Craziness, like honestly I feel like I've been here for like 2 months. Honestly, I just don't know where the time has gone. We've done so much, but I feel like, oh, I don't know, it's just crazy. But to celebrate, I wanted to do a video on some of my favorite New Zealand expressions and things I'm getting used to hearing again, and also like my French hubby. So for those of you who don't know, I was living in France for this past 6 years, moved back to New Zealand a year ago, and he's fluent. Like, we speak in English in our relationship and he speaks so well and he's so fluent, and yet even he has moments of surprise, like, what was that? So yeah, if you haven't seen them already, I have actually done 2 videos on Kiwi slang, so New Zealand words that are really typical of here, and I go through really quickly, and I think I cover off like hundreds of slang words literally in just 5 minutes at a time. So I'll link those down below if you want to have a bit of a laugh and listen to some of the vocabulary and words that we have for stuff. But otherwise these are going to be more like expressions or sayings and language that Kiwis are prone to use, and I'm not sure that anyone else in the world speaks like this. I think these kinds of things also shock Australians when we say them, so I think they are quite unique, but I may be wrong, so let me know down below if you have heard some of these. But before we jump into it, I just want to thank today's video sponsor, which is The Great Courses Plus. Now, this is a platform that I have very much enjoyed, especially during lockdown, and it provides online courses but of quality, right? So there are a lot of online course platforms out there, and a lot of that user generated content, it's a bit hit and miss. Like, sometimes it's really great, sometimes it's a bit average. And what the Great Courses Plus does is that they partner with Ivy League partners and institutions like the National Geographic, the Smithsonian, the Culinary Institute of America, and they create these expert courses that teach you about anything you want to know, really. And I am quite the learning animal. Like, I love learning about new things, and I'm always trying to develop myself in some way or another, or learn more about something or other. And there are some really great courses on there. Like, literally you can learn anything from photography and cooking all the way through to history, finance, Bitcoin, like all these different topics. It's really great and it's quality content. So yeah, there are like 11,000 video lectures across maths and science and history, and it can teach you things like how to cook, how to play chess, how to become a better photographer. So personally, something that I really enjoyed learning about more recently was the course America's Long Struggle with Slavery. For obvious reasons, I felt like I wanted to get more educated and informed on this topic. And it's funny because the history that we've kind of been told seems to be like, you know, some lawmakers in DC used their feather quills to abolish slavery, and that was it. But it was actually talking about how moral outrage and uprising and revolutions can actually impact policies and reform the way societies are built and laws and all that kind of stuff, and it was really fascinating. Another one I enjoyed was France Through the Ages, again for obvious reasons, but going through different periods of France and different historical perspectives of what life was like then and how it's evolved over time. And if you haven't seen it already, my husband actually has an Instagram called That French Kiwi Guy, and he takes a lot of wildlife photos, and he's really learning how to become a better nature photographer now that we're back in New Zealand. And there are National Geographic photography courses on there as well, so he's going to be diving into those, which is really cool. So viewers of this video are being offered an exclusive free trial, so if you guys want to try it out and learn all the things and enlighten yourself and educate yourself and learn a new skill potentially. And obviously it's super handy because you can learn when and where you want, because you can stream it through your computer, laptop, TV, mobile, whatever. So that's really handy as well. So if you guys want to give it a go, hit the link in my description box down below and it will lead you to the page that gives you the free trial. So enjoy. Alright, so let's jump into some of this. Well, that sounded Kiwi. Alright, let's jump in and talk about some of these Kiwi words and sayings that you hear Hashtag only in New Zealand. Alrighty, so the first one is saying that something is dear for expensive. Like, oh, it's just so dear to live in this country. And I thought that was pretty dear, if you ask me. And New Zealand is the only country that I've heard people, maybe Australians, maybe, now that I think about it, but to say something is expensive, saying that it's dear. And yeah, we still use dear in a normal sense, like dear someone in a letter, and oh, she's so near and dear to me, it matters a lot to me, or oh, she's such a dear, as in term of endearment. But yeah, when talking about when something's pricey, saying dear, that is a very Kiwi thing to say. The next is the concept of the potluck. So this took my French husband completely off guard. He was like, a what now? A potluck, you know, potluck dinner. Which is a dinner like, hey, we're having a potluck this weekend. It's just when everyone brings their own plate of food to contribute to the team, basically. So again, don't know if that's particularly, like, especially a New Zealand thing, but it certainly wasn't a thing in France. And yeah, everyone bring a plate, basically, the potluck dinner. The next is the famous dairy. So like going down to the corner store, I guess it would be called, or like the, I don't know, mini supermarket, like the shop on the corner that sells like, you know, fizzy drink and lollies, and then like some basic essentials and usually tobacco and stuff like that as well. So yeah, dairy I think is a very New Zealand term, and it's like, oh, just popping to the dairy. That would be a classic thing you'd hear, like, I'm just gonna pop to the dairy and grab some milk, and it's just gonna pop down to the dairy. For some reason you're always popping to the dairy in New Zealand. The next one is to pack a sad. So it's like having a temper tantrum, or yeah, just having a bit of a tantrum about something, like when someone's pissed off about something and they're kind of sulky, and it's like, oh, he's packing a sad. Or like, okay, go pack a sad about it then, like, you know. So when someone walks off like, oh, why are you packing a sad? So to pack a sad, again, like, does that exist anywhere else? I don't know. The next one is get your A into G. Like, hurry up, like kids getting out the door, like get your A into G, we're gonna move. Obviously it's short for get your ass into gear. And yeah, it's like, come on now, get your A into G. Another one that would say is rattle your dags. Rattle your dags. To speed, you know, speed up, hurry along, come on, let's get moving. This one is super Kiwi, I think. It's going bush. So firstly, yeah, we call, I guess, forest or jungle what you'd call, you know, in other places we call it the bush. And when you're going maybe hunting for the weekend, or going for a tramp or something, or just going into the bush for a while to whatever, for whatever reason, you can say, I'm going bush next weekend, like going bush, basically what it says, but I haven't heard it put that way anywhere else. Another super Kiwi thing is like the overuse of all good. Like, yeah, all good, yeah, no worries, like instead of saying no worries or that's fine with me. But there's also a particular way that Kiwis can say it as well, which is like, it was awesome, like, oh, it was all good, you know? So yeah, oh, that was all good. But yeah, also just like, yeah, all good, yeah, how are you doing? Yeah, all good, we're all good. Like, it's just overused and very Kiwi to hear that. I quite like the saying, and I hope that we can claim it. Maybe it comes from Australia, I don't know. But it's like, he couldn't organize a piss up in a brewery. Like, he couldn't, like, yeah, couldn't get drunk in a brewery. Couldn't organize a piss up in a brewery. Like, he couldn't do it if he tried, basically. Like, just useless. And a piss up is obviously having drinks, getting drunk. A big piss up, like having a bit of a piss up this weekend. Speaking of piss, there's another big saying in New Zealand, which is it's a piece of piss, to say that it's easy. So you'd say, yeah, of course I can do it, it's a piece of piss. Like, yeah, no worries, easy. The next one is something being a cock up, and I think this comes from the UK actually, now that I think about it, but like, well, that was a total cock up, wasn't it? You know, like just a mess, or that didn't work, like what a cock up. The next super Kiwi thing is stink one, like to say that you're disappointed in something, or if someone's been a bit of a dick, like you'd be like, oh, stink one. So it's like, oh, can you pass me that? And they're like, no, get it yourself. And you're like, oh, stink one. Like, okay, what a dick. Or if something bad happens, being like, oh, stink one, you know, that sucks, oh, stink one. The next one is a cultural phenomenon, so it's hard to explain. I don't know if I can leave the clip in here without getting copyrighted, but I think I'll try anyway. But basically there's this famous like clip that went viral as in New Zealand Oh, that's really Kiwi, by the way, saying as at the end of it. Viral as, cool as, sweet as, like adding as to anything, by the way, is a real Kiwiism. But it went viral as, and it was this guy. He's just like outside the dairy. Oh, I can't even explain it. I'm just gonna insert the clip here and risk like demonetization or like copyright claims on my channel. Left my scooter outside the dairy.
Left my scooter outside the dairy.
Neck minute.
Neck minute.
And the way he says neck minute.
Neck minute.
That became such a thing. So now would say it all the time and be like, so I was like, blah, 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 this was happening. Neck minute. Blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, I thought everything was fine. Neck minute, apparently not. Like, tell a story, and you'll hear that in New Zealand as well. Like, neck minute, this happened.
Neck minute.
Another thing related to kind of a cultural thing that went viral was a TV ad, and it's like these little kids talking about putting up a retainer wall.
What are you doing this weekend? I'm putting up a retaining wall. Doing it yourself? No, I'm going to get some broken. Oh, come on, mate, do it yourself. You reckon? We can knock it over in half a day. Yeah, get a couple mates around. Hey, Jonesy! Huh? Give us a hand with the job Saturday. Mate, you're dreaming. Aussies. No surprises there.
That became quite viral because it was like this, mate, you're dreaming. So you can hear that quite a bit in New Zealand as well. Like, do you want to help me with that? I was dreaming. If they're like overly ambitious or whatever, like, mate, you're dreaming. Like, mate, you're dreaming. Like, we would take that part of the ad, use it in like everyday today sentences. And the next one is referring to your head as a noggin, like bump on the noggin, or like, you know, feeling a bit hungover today, the old noggin's a bit sore. Yeah, again, don't know if that's just a New Zealand thing, but thought I'd put it in here. A very Kiwi way for saying that you're feeling sick or ill is crook. So saying like, I would love to come, but I'm still feeling a bit crook, or I feel a bit crook today, I feel a bit off, so I don't think I'll be able to make it. Another thing you can say to sound like a true Kiwi New Zealander is bugger all, like not much it means. So, oh, how much flour do you have left? Oh, bugger all. Got many beers left in the fridge? Oh, bugger all. When someone's a bit of a comedian or a joker and that kind of thing, you can say they're a dag, D-A-G. So, oh, he's a bit of a dag, isn't he? Old Nigel, he's a bit of a dag, you know? A bit of a joker, a bit of a funny guy. The next thing is to jack up, so which means to organize. Like, oh yeah, so I'm just gonna jack up that meeting, or yeah, let's jack something up. Yeah, let's organize that. Another thing you'll hear all the time in New Zealand that's like stuff that New Zealanders say is instead of saying nice, they'll say noise. I don't even know where that comes from, but it's like noise. Oh, noise. Another very Kiwi thing is the use of the word goodie. Like, oh yeah, she's a real goodie, that's a goodie. Like, I picked that one, she's a goodie, that's a goodie. Like, oh, I love that book, such a goodie. Like, so G-O-O-D-I-E, what, like, real goodie. Oh guys, we also have this ice cream, and I don't know if this exists anywhere else in the world. It might be a only a New Zealand thing, but it's called Goodie Gumdrops, and it is insane. Okay, so like the base ice cream flavor is bubblegum, and then you've got these like fruit tubes covered in sugar, but they're quite hard within the ice cream. It is amazing. Another thing you hear a lot in New Zealand is cuz or bro, mostly with guys talking to each other, like between each other, like, oh, good one cuz, and thanks bro, and yeah, legend, and yeah, that kind of stuff as well. That kind of like people are your cousin and your brother, and yeah, because I mean, they basically are. I mean, we're all a big family over here. And the next one is pretty specific, but it's dole bludger. So we call people who are receiving some sort of benefit and like therefore receiving their stipend or their payments from the government, a dole bludger. So someone who's bludging on the dole, and specifically the unemployment benefit. And I think it comes from, I did a bit of research, comes from doling out, which means handing out. It used to be a way to say handout, so handing out, doling out. So that's where dole comes from, I think, as a concept, D-O-L-E. But yeah, unfortunately the poor people on the unemployment benefit in New Zealand are referred to as dole bludgers, which isn't very nice, is it? not super proud of that one. Cool, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this little insight into a bit of Kiwi culture, a bit of Kiwi language. Let me know if you've heard these before, if you use them as well in your countries, but I think a lot of them are pretty quintessential New Zealand. So yeah, let me know down below what you think, and yeah, if you watch some of my older videos, you'll probably be shocked at how hard my accent has come back. I've looked at some of my older videos and I'm like, whoa, because when I was living in Europe, I really had to adapt my way of speech and not use obviously colloquialisms and sayings and specific words, and even had to adjust my accent so that I was more understandable and I would speak more slowly and I'd be more articulate. And yeah, and that's definitely gone down the pipeline since moving back to New Zealand as well. So let me know if you can see a difference in my accent. And otherwise, guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any requests about life in New Zealand, Kiwi culture, anything like that. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. A bientôt!